Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to spend time with us. Contact center agents are at the forefront of customer interactions. In today's customer-centric business landscape, workforce optimization stands as the cornerstone of successful contact center operations. My name is Pavan Dosanapudi. I'm a solutions architect specializing in Amazon Connect. Today, I will be joined by my colleague, Georgina Williams, and later we'll be joined by Barry Robinson and Jill Beatty from NatWest Group. They will share their real-world experience. The events of past 2 years have created unprecedented challenges for the contact center industry, perhaps more challenging than any time in history. Contact centers are facing perfect storm of challenges, including high contact volumes, more than average attrition rates, and difficulties in replacing employees, increasing customer expectations, and high inflation. As customer demands increased, the need for agents also increases, making it harder than ever to find and retain agents. Contact center industries on an average is about 30 to 45% average attrition rate. And this is making it even harder in an industry already known for high turnovers. These are the business outcomes customers want to achieve. First, improve customer satisfaction with real-time actionable insights. Reduce cost. ROI is a big driver. Now, the leaders are asking, what is the return on investment on these transformative initiatives? When am I going to get money back from the initiatives? And improve agent performance. Managers can see aggregated agent performance metrics and use advanced contact analytics to drill down into the areas for improvement. And all of this to reduce the total cost of ownership. With all insights, optimization, and analytics in a single solution, there is no need for integrating with a third-party, complex, expensive integrations. Because all the analytics, insights, and optimizations are simple to use and a single applications, they are easy to use, easy to deploy, and easy to adopt. So, what are the key differentiators for Amazon Connect? Amazon Connect is the easy-to-use omni-channel cloud-based contact center. First, setting up contact center can be done in just a few clicks. Your agents can literally be handling contacts in minutes with just a browser and a headset. Amazon Connect is simple to administer. You can deliver natural, personal customer experiences with real-world AI that is proven natural language understanding and speech recognition technologies. The same technologies that powers Alexa. Amazon Connect is built ground up with AI at the heart of every interaction. So making it easier to deliver real-world AI results. And Amazon Connect helps you to measure, track, and improve contact center performance, forecast agents, schedule agents, and generate their shifts and activities, and achieve the business goals with real-time analytics. And you can bring tens of thousands of agents in response to your business cycles. And you only pay for what you use. Last, Amazon Connect sits along the 200 plus fully featured AWS services, which means you have everything you need to deliver world-class customer experience. We always work backwards from our customer needs to build our services and solutions. Amazon Connect Insights, Optimization, and Analytics solution helps customers to use business insights and optimize their operations. With scheduling capability, we enable supervisors and schedule managers to use less effort to create and manage agent schedules with easy and automated workflows. Real-time monitoring and analytics gives managers access to the real-time metrics and provides notification to managers to prevent escalations. Georgina will talk about conversation analytics and performance evaluations. Your analytics team can use forecasting capability to predict future workload and make predictions of work coming in future. Amazon Connect has a set of analytics and optimization capabilities to help contact center managers to predict contact volumes and their arrival rates, known as forecasting, and determine how many agents are needed and when they needed to be hired, trained, and staffed based on the forecasted contacts volumes, known as capacity planning. And then assign daily shifts to the minimum number of agents required to meet the business goals, indicating what times of the day they should be handling customer contacts, doing their trainings, taking breaks, having lunch, one-to-ones, etc., known as scheduling. And finally, ensure agents are performing the duties as scheduled using schedule adherence. Forecasters can view the forecast at a 15-minute interval, daily, weekly, or monthly level. And they can use filter to group and inspect the forecast they have generated. But sometimes your forecasters need to override the forecast because there is a business expansion or there is a sales campaign where you get additional contact volumes. They can do so by uploading a forecast override. And once a forecast is published, that can be consumed by downstream such as a capacity planning and scheduling. And using the forecast, a schedule will be generated. And once the schedule is published, schedulers can view the schedule for all agents and pick a date, view a shift, or they can go back to today's schedules. Agent cost is 75% of contact center cost. Making small gains in efficiency can have a huge impact, which means having more accurate prediction will help you achieve the balance of great agent utilization, which saves cost, and ensure proper working hours for our agents, which means it will prevent attrition. And all of this enables supervisors to assess the service level agreements, SLAs and ASAs based on the forecasted staffing needs and what is actually scheduled, and they can manage schedules with more efficiency and avoid breaching SLA. Now I would like to welcome Georgina to talk more about Amazon Connect Contact Lens.
Thanks, Pavan. So we've already heard how foundational having a really rich and insightful data set is in creating really brilliant customer experiences and removing operational costs. And Contact Lens is absolutely critical to that mission. For those of you who aren't familiar, Contact Lens is a set of machine learning capabilities that enables businesses to analyze customer conversations. And no application would be complete these days without some Gen AI feature. So of course, that has been the focus of our recent announcements. Contact Lens is an out-of-the-box integrated experience within Amazon Connect, and you can turn it on with just a few clicks and no technical expertise. So, one of the newest capabilities we just launched for Contact Lens is a Gen AI-powered summarization capability. And this provides users with a really concise snapshot summary of the conversation that just occurred, also highlighting key data points and to help with actions after the call and follow-ups. And also just saving agents time from having to write up comprehensible notes. It's really easy to switch on, and it just appears automatically in the contact record alongside the transcription. At AWS, we really believe in the power of data-driven decision-making. So making it easier for our customers to extract insights quickly from Amazon Connect continues to drive our roadmap. For a really long time, the way that we did analytics for large enterprise customers was we sort of gave them all this data and all these APIs, and we just sort of said, you can do what you like with it. But we've learned that customers really struggle with resource in this area, and they want pre-built, out-of-the-box dashboards that give them that snapshot of what's happening in their business. So in response, what you see here on the screen is our conversational analytics dashboard. This dashboard shows you what's going on in your contact center at a glance with no setup. So it just gives you that snapshot of those key themes and key trends emerging from your contact center without having to configure a thing. Pre-built dashboards are awesome, but for the data geeks amongst you, we also have now the Zero ETL Analytics Data Lake. So this pulls all of that rich data from Amazon Connect into one place and makes it much easier for you to combine it with other data you might have about your contact center and then visualize it in a tool like QuickSight or Tableau. So back to those call drivers, which you can see up here on the left-hand side of the screen. Can I just ask, has anybody in the audience here used automatic theme detection within Contact Lens? Not many. A few hands, a few hands. Well, if you have probably because you know how important that is to your business and understanding why your customers are calling you. And this was also really important to Amazon.com. Back in the early days of Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos used to go and sit with the contact center agents just to find out what was going on, see what customers liked, what they didn't like. And this one day, he sat there with an agent in the contact center, and a call comes in, and the agent says, "Oh, I know exactly what this call is going to be about. It's going to be about this table that he bought last week, and the table's going to have already been broken upon delivery." So sure enough, the call comes in, the customer is upset, they want a refund because the table's broken. And so after the call, Jeff says to the agent, how did you know? How did you know exactly what that call was going to be about already? And he said, well, actually, that's about the 17th call I've had this week about that table. And so Jeff said, okay, well, we need to do something about this. And so that's when the concept of the and-on chord was adopted into Amazon.com. And that mechanism gave any employee at any level the ability to pull a product from our catalog because of bad customer service. Now, not everybody has Jeff Bezos in their contact center. And it may not be feasible, right, to have a mechanism like the and-on chord in your contact center. But what we do have is AI. And we can use that to show this dashboard of contact categories and see which of those contact categories are moving most week on week, month on month, even intraday. And by looking at those contact categories, we can identify themes, new themes emerging or problems, and that gives supervisors that autonomy to take action. So another great feature of Contact Lens is it actually can you can create rules that will alert in real time. So many of our customers actually create kind of a complaints type rule, or, you know, for example, you could create a rule that said, if your customer says, I want to talk to your manager, or even, hey, I'm going to sue you, or something, hopefully not that, but something like that, you can flag that as urgent, and that can appear right in front of your supervisor in real time. They see a little indicator in the UI, they can click on that call, they can maybe listen to the real-time transcript, read the real-time transcript, and they can choose whether or not it makes sense to barge in and help that agent in the moment. Or they could just decide, actually, it's not that important, it's okay, the agent's got it under control, and just send it for post-process legal review. So I just wanted to share with you what a contact record for Amazon Connect looks like. And you get one of these with every single interaction on Connect. So there's a number of really cool things that you can see here. This is the Gen AI powered summary, which we've talked about. The next thing is the conversational analytics metrics. So within these metrics, you can see not only just the sentiment of the whole call, but you can see how the sentiment's changed over the life of the call. So in this example, the agent's done a great job, call started off badly, and finished kind of better than it started. You can also see metrics like agent talk time, customer talk time, and non-talk time. And actually, non-talk time can be a really good indicator where there might be a problem or some kind of training need. You can also see the screen recording, and of course, the transcript and those contact categories and any key highlights. And then finally, you can also see the performance evaluation. Now, the performance evaluation tool is effectively a series of questions that you create in order to evaluate your agent's performance. And the great thing about this capability is that it's on the contact record, so you've got everything that you need to evaluate that agent performance in one place. You've got the call recording, the transcript, all that detailed sentiment analysis, and you can be like, okay, this agent's done a great job or not. But one thing that I've learned about this process is that when the process of agent evaluations isn't transparent, agents get really frustrated. And they can be like, you know what, that manager's just got it in for me. They always give me a bad score. It's nothing to do with me. I'm fed up here, I'm going to leave. And you've all heard, right? Agent attrition is a really big problem for many customers. So we thought, how can we take this to the next level? And so we have added the ability to fully automate the completion of them. We have the transcript, we have the topic model, we have the sentiment, we've got all this data. Why should the manager even have to listen to the call at all? And so we took the power of AI, and of course, Gen AI, and that's what we did. And what we found is that just removes a lot of the emotion, it provides complete transparency for the agent. Now, of course, AI sometimes gets it wrong, and so we do have the ability to manually override, but it just creates a much better conversation with the agent and with the supervisor. And so finally, the other great thing you can do, now you've got all this data, right, about your agents, you can start to see agent trends, so you can compare agents with each other. So you might see this agent, they've been doing a really good job, but then something's happened and their performance has dropped off. What is it? Or this particular agent, for this type of call, do a really good job. They get a really good score. Like, what can we learn from that? And the great thing is, because this is now data, you can start to think about, well, how could we automate this, right? If the agent performance drops below X, send them a task to do some coaching. So you can start to see how you can try and automate this kind of virtuous cycle of improving agent performance. So hopefully Pavan and I have been able to demonstrate just some of the capabilities that you can get out of the box with Amazon Connect. But now we're going to hear from the real experts. So I'm going to pass you over to Barry and Jill from NatWest Group, who I've had the absolute pleasure of working with over the last couple of years, and who hopefully are going to bring a lot of what we just talked about to life.
Good afternoon all, I'm Barry Robinson, Head of Transformation Capability in the Retail Bank with NatWest Group. And although my home is retail banking, I help collaborate with colleagues across our wealth businesses, our commercial businesses and technology to drive our One Bank transformation agenda. What I want to talk to you today about, along with Jill, is give you a sense of how we've partnered with AWS, how we've used Amazon Connect to actually help us with two distinct problems. The first of those is how we help customers seamlessly interact across our channels. So how might you start in the mobile and then actually find yourself in telephony, and how you keep that common customer flow going. And the second is actually how we use data to really help and drive the customer experience by empowering our colleagues in better ways than we've never been capable of doing. Now, we're a customer engagement business. That customer engagement is very much through the forefront of digital. But we have our physical presence and we have our humans there for the moments that matter the most. And therefore, the element I really want to showcase is actually our remote support transformation program. Our remote support agenda, what we have in those businesses is telephony, messaging, and video. And what we try to do in those businesses is help our customers get to the real key individual at that moment that ultimately matters. Now, that business today is served by 9,000 colleagues with 44 million interactions annually. And within there, our vision is for seamless digital resolution, culminating in human support for the moments that matter. Now, what does that really mean? Well, what we're trying to get to within that business is ultimately the capability that you've got seamless interaction. You can start in the mobile and you can therefore go through to telephony, and you're not starting separate journeys. That is one flow, one experience that the customer has. At the same time, therefore, we want to see data really flowing across those channels so that therefore in turn, our colleagues are empowered. That means the colleagues, when they are talking to our customers, they have all the data they need about that customer at that moment of truth to help them. That then helps us empower our workforce in a different way by really upskilling them and empowering them to be there for the moments that matter. I'm going to give you a bit of a sense as to where we are on that roadmap, where we are on our roadmap to optimising with that agenda. Now, to get there though, we had a number of key enablers that we have to put in place. First of that is authentication. Today, banks run multiple different ways of authentication. Our vision is to get to seamless authentication, predominantly driven by biometrics. And biometrics that can flow across from a mobile app into telephony could start in a branch and still flow across into telephony or back into the mobile. That's important for us. Another key enabler is clearly data. We need to have really rich, powerful data to allow us to drive that customer experience in ways that we have never had before. But we also need a simple colleague interface to make it easy for colleagues to navigate what the next best action is for that customer at that minute in time. And then finally, you have an empowered workforce is what you get into. But the biggest foundational bedrock of all has been moving to a cloud-based platform. That cloud-based platform for us was clearly Amazon Connect. Our view when we were getting into that and looking at the discussions around where we wanted to go, Amazon Connect, we could see it was giving us the ability, the connectivity, and the capability ultimately to react to changes in our environment, but actually get us into being preemptive in ways that we've never done before. So I'm glad to say that our migration is well underway to Amazon Connect, and all our colleagues that were moving off of our current on-prem solution and on to Amazon Connect. And I think what we are now really starting to see is the opportunity it is giving us. What we're already seeing in the first 6 months of actually going through some of the big parts of the migration, We are getting more data, more insight than we have ever had before. But what we're trying to do with that is take it in a safe way, experiment with that data. We have concepts of model offices where we ring-fence parts of our teams, we put them in front of live customer interactions, and we ultimately work with those teams to see what different things we can do in that regard with them. All of that helping to drive the customer experience. And what I want to hand you over to today with is Jill Beattie. So Jill Beattie has been leading on this day in, day out, and I want her to give you a real sense of all the great insight we're now starting to see.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to try and bring to life with 3 use cases that we've got on how we are utilising Amazon Connect across NatWest. The first example that we've got is sentiment analysis. And I'm just going to take you back a little bit on how we used to coach in NatWest. So we had our team leaders with teams of agents, and they would randomly select a couple of telephone calls that they would listen into and determine the coaching needs from that small sample that they had. If you fast forward now to us being on Amazon Connect, we transcribe every single call that comes into our contact centres. And to give you a sense of scale, that's 2.5 million per month. And that's across over 7,000 agents that we've currently got on Amazon Connect. We are continuing our migration to have more than that. Now, what that means is every call transcribed out of that 2.5 million, that there's then a sentiment score that's allocated, both for the customer and for the agent. And that's from the words that are used on whether or not they're positive, neutral, or negative. We're really hoping that Amazon start to develop that product to give us tone of voice as well, which is what we would really like. From that then, we've now got our team leaders able to see this mass of data in terms of their agents. But our use case, therefore, was, well, could we now do tailored coaching and actually start to see both that agent sentiment and that customer sentiment increase? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. Not only did we see a reduced HT when we tested this in our model office, so we took a team leader with their team in and started to really experiment this. HT was reduced quite significantly, and also we could start to see an increase in sentiment scores for both the customer and the agent. We've now taken this a step further with the team starting to develop sentiment dashboards. So for every single agent, we can now compare to see their sentiment scores. Is that team performing better than the other team that's aligned to it as well? And also starting to think about, it's not always about coaching the agents who have the poorer scores, but how do we start to utilise also the agents that have got those great scores, and do they actually become the coaches of the future? And it's really starting to turn it on its head of how we start to coach and develop our colleagues across the organisation. The next use case, and by the way, if anyone else is doing sentiment analysis, I would love to contact afterwards because we're really excited about it. The next use case that we've got is vulnerable customers, and I'm sure others can relate to this. Is what we wanted to really test here is how do we ensure that we are supporting our most vulnerable customers across NatWest? And the first challenge that we really had is, do we even know the number of vulnerable customers that we have, and how can we support them? Because customers don't phone us up and say, hi, I'm Jill, I'm vulnerable, by the way. This takes really experienced agents to be listening to that conversation, actively listening to identify the customer is vulnerable with lots of different vulnerabilities. And what we wanted to do is start to use Amazon Connect, and how could Contact Lens help us in this regard? And we started to test this in one of our contact centres, where we took our most experienced team leaders and agents and said, so what are those words that you hone into, and how could we start to build them out into a much larger volume of utterances for contact lens, so we could then really understand what do we think the true number of vulnerable customers are. The results of that actually showed that we multiplied that by 4 times what we originally had. We also started to again, for our team leaders to start to use that from a coaching perspective of listening into those calls and seeing how they could really support the agents, either after the call, or Georgie mentioned real-time prompts as well, so you can actually do the coaching in the moment. The other thing that I would call out, which came out of some of our findings, and this wasn't really an objective that we went into, and it highlighted the difficult calls that our agents are having to deal with. Actually, sometimes quite abusive as well. And how could we really support our agents and their well-being and some of those conversations? And again, with some barge-in technology, how do we actually start to evolve that in the future? So if required, team leaders can be there to support the agents. We're now rolling that out across many of our other contact centres, and also starting to work with our Vulnerable Centre of Excellence on how can we start to take vulnerability that step further as well, to make sure that we are supporting our customers. The final use case that I'm going to share, because there's been lots of conversations about Gen AI across today, is Amazon Q, and how we could start to use that across our contact centres. Pavan mentioned that we have high attrition in contact centres, a challenge for everyone. And what that therefore means is sometimes it can be quite difficult for our agents to be searching around where they're newer to the business and try and find that material. Or even worse, they actually give the wrong response to customers and it's inconsistent, and then that deals with a complaint. So our use case here was, how could we use Amazon Q to understand the intent of what the customer is asking for? Could it give a response and actually give a solution? And could it pull the reference material? So could it really be an agent assist tool for our agents? We tested this and are continuing to test this in our credit card centre. Again, we've pulled out our most experienced agents, and we call them super agents. There's a team of 8 of them. Because what we wanted them to help us with is the responses and say, would you really say that? And actually also, is that factually correct? And really help enhance Amazon Q. So our first experiment that we wanted to do is, could Amazon Q actually understand the intent? So could it listen and actually understand the reason for that customer call? And the answer was not quite. We didn't get a great success rate on this one, because a big learning for us was, actually the customers, again, don't phone up and say, I'm phoning to change my address. The conversation will go something like, well, I've just moved house recently. I think you've got my old address. And the agent then steps in and kind of turns it into bank speak and starts to say, oh, okay, so you want to change your address. Our first experiment had only taken the customer intents from Amazon Q. So very quickly, we were with Georgie and team going, okay, you know, when we said customer intent, can we also now put the agent intent in? Overnight, that increased the success rate from 50% of the intent to 75% success rate. Probably quite logical in hindsight, but that's a wonderful thing when you're experimenting. The next thing that we wanted to understand then is, could it pull the right response? And is that something that you would then say to a customer? And was that going to be accurate? Again, out of that experiment, the answer was not quite. And we found 2 challenges that we had. One is, we had loaded a massive amount of reference material into the experiment, thousands of material, and we were almost overloading. The second was, all of our knowledge material in the bank has been written for colleagues to interpret. And many of them, well over 50%, are not kind of static, very easy. they're pretty much process flows of, if a customer comes in and says this, do this. If a customer comes in and says something different, do this. And if the customer is in the UK, do this. If the customer is overseas. For Amazon Q, that kind of struggle to really understand the response. And again, probably in hindsight, because it's written for colleagues, not large language models, we had to go back to basics again. Our next experiment, which we're hoping to get live in the next couple of weeks, has done a couple of things, therefore. It has simplified the flows, and also we've reduced the content. And that next experiment will be to see if we can get that solution right. But even if not, then at least pull the right reference material. So again, it saves the agent from having to search around for reference material, so they can be having a much more engaged conversation with the customer when they come in. I hope that's brought to life some of the use cases and some of the experiments that we're doing in NatWest. I'll maybe ask Barry just to come back up on stage and any advice he would give to anyone who's about to go on the same journey. Thank you.
So now you've heard from the real expert in the team. And I think reflecting upon this, we've been on the journey to move to Amazon Connect now, probably it's been about 2 years since we started the conversation internally and what we wanted to do. And back at that time, I was up in front of our executive committees trying to make the case for change and what we had to do. And the thing you kind of try and build a business case on is the provision of data. Right? You're trying to basically say, we don't have this data today, but we know our customers are behaving in a certain way. We can't get behind that data, therefore we can't improve the customer experience nor the colleague experience. And because we can't do that, you can't actually run the business the way you want to do, right? And of course, when you're trying to make that position, you're trying to stack up a multi-million-pound investment behind it, there's skeptical people in the room. My background's in finance, right? So I'm also naturally skeptical because of some of this. I think, therefore, my biggest reflection has been, you can see the power of data, but what is brilliant for us to see as a bank now, I mean, what Jill's just described and what the team are working through day in, day out, that's only been in a matter of months and even weeks, and all the data's there. And we're actually being able to take it, and we can change how our call centers are performing. We can change, you're seeing some of the results, right? They're great. We can change how that colleague experience is also playing into. You're getting into targeted coaching, interventions in ways that, it's just light years ahead of where we were before. And all of that helping to drive the customer experience. Which ultimately, yep, you'll see it in the top line, but you will see it also where you can make, optimal cost reductions in the ways that you can run your center. And the fact of the matter is that we could see the opportunity with data. We didn't have a way to get there until we ultimately went to Amazon Connect. And I think that's the massive endorsement of what we have seen partnering with AWS and utilizing Amazon Connect and very quickly actually seeing the data come to fruition. And my team are not short of ideas of trying to work through it. I think the challenge for us is how we ultimately optimize as quick as we can. And with that, I just want to hand you back to Pavan for some closing thoughts.
Thank you, Barry and Jill, for bringing analytics and insights powered by the data can improve the optimizations of contact centers. Thank you for traveling down from Scotland for us to share your experience. So how do you get started with Amazon Connect? We have seen Amazon Connect is easy to use out of the box. So the best way to get started is to understand the art of the possible by creating a use case and define the goals and metrics for your organization. You heard the term experimentation, model office a lot from Barry and Jill. So pick a use case, start experimenting, start the proof of concept, and run a pilot and see the results for yourself. And once you are successful pilot, make your way into ramping up into production. So on that, you can join millions of learners for AWS training and certification. Skill Builder, there is a 7-day free trial for you to go through either online or classroom learnings, and you can do it wherever you are. So on that note, I would like to again say thank you for joining with us, and thank you for the wonderful speakers, Georgie, Jill, and Barry. Thank you all.